Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Confident CEO. Last week was half term in the UK and I had such an amazing week with the girls, and we went swimming, went to the museum, we had a Halloween tea party at a local hotel, we baked cake. It was fab. It was great to be able to spend the time with them. And if you're following me on Instagram, you'll also have seen that I got the proof of the Confident CEO journal, which is now approved. It's in production. I'm so excited. And if you want to see how that journey is going on, I'm over on either Instagram or TikTok at Verity Songon for Instagram, or I'm on both platforms with the confident_CEO, and you can see the whole journey of the journal and the other products which we are going to be bringing to the Confident CEO stationery range shortly, which is very, very exciting because I've also been working on customized packaging. Oh my gosh, the list is endless. So check it out on Instagram and TikTok, as I said. And there's the links in the show notes below. So I'm also really excited. It's just, the product's going to be launching, the journal's going to be launching later this month, so November 2022, which is brilliant. And if you're wanting to get your hands on one of those journals when they launch, head over to theconfidentceo.store. I'll have that linked in the show notes, and type your email address in to be registered for updates about the product launch. And now, as it's the beginning of November, we're back to the reality of school, timetabled activities, and so we're rocking on with another podcast episode. So today I am delighted to be joined by the lovely Elizabeth Averyanova. Elizabeth is a brand strategist, digital marketing expert, web and architectural designer, and founder of Studio Classica. Elizabeth helps purpose-driven female entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, and industry leaders scale their businesses with impactful, beautiful design to attract dream clients, elevate their online presence, and book out their offers while creating a lasting legacy in the world. On today's episode, we are going to be talking specifically about choosing platforms for your online course and your business. There's so many options out there, and it's easy to get caught up in the features that you do and sometimes don't need. Elizabeth shares her expert opinions on a range of platforms, including solutions that I have never used, such as Kajabi. So that is going to be great to dive into talking about all these different platforms, pros of them, cons on them, and hopefully if you are looking at a platform for your online course or an all-in-one CRM platform for your business, this will be a brilliant episode for you to dive into and figure out which platforms you may or may not want to use going forward. So let's dive in. Hey there, I'm Verity Songon, and this is the Confident CEO podcast, the show that takes you behind the scenes of starting and running your small or not so small business. We will cut through the misinformation and bad advice about starting and running a business and give you actionable tips and advice that you can implement to grow, scale, and achieve your business goals. Let's dive in. So, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I am really excited that you're here. We've got so much goodness that we are going to be diving into, talking mainly about online course platforms, which is really exciting. But before we dive in, I'd love to hand over to you. Tell us who you are, what it is that you do, all of that goodness.
Yes, thank you so much. Excited to be here. I'm Elizabeth. I'm a brand designer, web designer, also architectural designer, and I run a design studio. We are based in Riga, Latvia, but I'm actually from America. But our studio is in Northern Europe, and we help entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, coaches, course creators, and industry leaders really build their online presence with beautiful branding, with impactful websites and sales pages, and so you can attract your dream client and grow your business and make a bigger impact in the world.
I love that. And I was just looking at your website actually before we started recording, and it is absolutely stunning. It is beautiful, I have to say. So we'll get you to tell us the links and everything at the end, but it's beautiful. It really, really is. But yeah, we're going to be talking about different platforms, particularly that you can use for your online course business, because I know this is something that you've got a huge area of expertise in. So big question to start off with, but how do you even start? If you're somebody who's thinking, I want to create an online course, where do you even start with choosing the right platform for your online course business?
Yeah, if you from the beginning know you want to create a course-based business, the best platforms you should dive into, it's going to be a platform like Kajabi, which is an all-in-one platform. Or if you want to consider alternatives or stepping stones, there's also Teachable, there's Thinkific, there's Kartra, and there's also the platform called Learn, which is supported by, just a moment, what is it?
Is that the Thrive
I
Cart
can't
one?
remember. Thrive Card, the Thrive Card one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
So yes, so there's just so many that you can choose from. I mean, how does somebody even like start to decide which one to go for? Because I find that when I have conversations with people, I find that most people kind of gravitate towards Teachable and Thinkific just because they're the ones that are kind of probably like, some of the best well known ones, but they might not necessarily be the right kind of platforms for those individuals. So yeah, how would you suggest
Mhm.
people start figuring out which platform might be best for them?
Yeah, definitely. One of the biggest questions I see is which platform to start, but they're not yet ready to do a course, but they're thinking about it in the next 6 months or year. And so that's kind of one situation I see people in a lot where they're thinking about it, but they're not yet ready. Therefore, the question is, should they invest in like one of those more expensive platforms now if they're not doing that course yet, or should they dive into that platform and set up a foundation and is it worth the money? And then they know eventually they'll do the course, but they just don't know when. So that's a big question, and there is no right answer, unfortunately. But I have seen really good results from if you're in that decision making process. I have seen, I've gotten feedback from clients that say yes, they were happy they made that leap into sort of what felt like the right platform, even if it was the more expensive choice at that early time in their business. Because eventually, when they already had that foundation built out, they had the website built out by then, and they've already been using one platform. And then they do the course, and it's already built out for them that they're ready to like layer onto it, and they're not having to deal with the switching over process or suddenly having two, three, four, five different platforms that they're working with. And so they were happy with that decision. So that's one place. But I know, okay, what if you're like ready now to do the course? There's so many factors to consider, but I know some of the platforms you really have to look closer at the pricing structure and kind of what it's included. And this is kind of like boring technical pricing matters to consider, but some platforms take a percentage of all your sales. And I don't have numbers right now, and it's going to change today versus in the future. But some platforms take maybe let's say 3% of every sale. You don't if you're really scaling your business, maybe you don't want that. You maybe want to avoid that. And I'm not talking about the Stripe or PayPal fees. I'm talking about the platform itself. Some platforms they have just a fixed monthly payment subscription, monthly or annual payment subscription option, and you're not capped. You can any amount you make, they don't take a percentage of any of that. And I think that for me, that's the way I like to to recommend people to go. That's the direction I prefer to go. So that's just one of many things to consider.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you, and I'm very much of the same mind. I like to recommend people really have a look at what's included in in those pricing structures, because I think that's something that people don't consider. They see the upfront cost, but then they don't necessarily think, oh, they're going to take a percentage of my income, income from the course sales. And then, like you said, you might have Stripe fees, you might have PayPal fees or credit card, whichever payment processor you're using. And before you know it, you could actually have quite a percentage chunk coming out of each course sale, particularly if you're somebody who's only selling your courses for like, double digits as opposed to the triple or even 4 or 5 figure digits. It can be quite a chunk. So I really like that tip of people really needing to have a look at what's included in that pricing structure there. What other features might people want to have a look at when considering an online course platform?
Yeah, definitely. Another great thing to look at is what is the actual client experience inside that platform and how does that feel to you? How does that feel to them? And, so you should definitely test out any platform you're considering and sit as if you're a student in the course, going into this course. Is it logical? Is it a nice experience to be inside this course? Because client experience is huge a game changer in building a business where you get repeat clients or people who rave about your course and say, you need to take this course. I had a great experience. So you want to create that really nice experience inside the course. So what that looks like, think about the dashboard after a student logs in. What does it look like? Is it logical? Can they figure out where they need to go or where they are in the course or where the resources are? And so the client experience is a huge thing to consider because it's very different. If you're considering Kajabi's platform, it's you can create a really beautiful, nice experience there, a really branded experience all the way through. If you're looking at Teachable, it's a great platform, but there's only so many things you can change in terms of the layout or the branding. And so it's very good for one approach for how the course is experienced. And same with other platforms, what is that experience for the client?
Absolutely. I really like that. It comes back to that whole idea that one size will not fit all. And just because maybe your friend or another business owner that is using a platform, it doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily work for you. And I see that so often when people go into Facebook groups and one of the first questions they ask is, which platform would you recommend? And my immediate thought is, well, what do you want from it? Because I can recommend you all these platforms, but like you said, it depends what you want from it, what features you want, what customization, because some people want to, like you said, customize the entire experience and it feels very one way, and other people want something which is minimal customization. They just want something to host a course, and then other people kind of sit in that middle ground. So I think those are some really, really key points that you've brought up there. I want to touch on what you were saying there about that customer experience. And because I think a lot of the time people think with online courses, you create your video, you upload it, bit of bang, bit of boom, done. How can you really elevate and streamline your online course, business to really give that wow factor to your students?
Yeah, I love, thinking about this, and it's so, so important in how your students feel inside your course. And so the biggest, there's probably a couple of things I could think of, but let's say the first one is that initial onboarding experience. So they have just finally taken the leap. They've looked at the sales page. They're taking the leap of okay, I'm ready to buy this course. They put down the money and they're in that moment. Okay, they said yes. So what happens right after that moment is huge for you. And that onboarding experience for that client is something you really should take time to think and break down the steps. What happens after they invest in your course? So for example, I'll use Kajabi as an example, but you want to think about that client journey after they purchase. So for example, they could be directed to a thank you page. On the thank you page, you could even feature a nice little short welcome video, 1 minute, thank you for purchasing, and then tell them that next step, or at least set up a message, go check your inbox for the next steps, for your login details, and just congratulations, you're inside the course. Giving them a nice feeling of welcome. Then let's say you set up that email. So they go to check their email, they get a confirmation email. Don't make it just some generic email of here's your login, thanks for purchasing. To figure out a way to give it some special touch. So some kind of special touch, it could be a nice, it depends on your branding and your personality, but it could be a nice GIF, a GIF that's kind of cute, but on brand. It could be just a nice welcome message from you, or like I said just now, the video from you. Then give them the next steps. Help your students. You want to help your students be successful in your course, because I'm sure that's a different topic but it's a lot of people purchase a course but don't actually finish the course. So give your students those next steps to be successful. So what is A, B, C, D? What are those next steps that you recommend them taking for the course? And then the last part of the onboarding experience for the client is just how making sure they know how to log in or how to get customer support help if they have any troubles.
I think that's so important. I think so often in the online course world, we talk about how to create the videos, how to create the workbooks, how to upload it all. But you're right, it's that fundamental, somebody's giving you their credit card information, the payments process. Well, what do I actually even do? I did an online course audit for somebody a little while ago, and I had access. I clicked on the link to access the course to do the audit. I had no idea how to log on to the course, which was
Oh, wow.
a little bit, I found that a bit baffling because I like to think of myself as quite tech literate, but I was like, well, hang on a minute, if I can't figure out how to there was no obvious like login or sign up, sign in, anything like that. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, if I can't log in, how is anybody else going to log in? So that was interesting. And I think like you said, it's really just taking that step back and mapping out that journey and what is it that your student is going to need step by step to get them into the course and started and going. I love that. It's that customer onboarding that we really shouldn't forget about. So then once the student is inside the course, what kind of things could we do then to really give them that wow experience once they're inside the course?
Yeah, definitely. Inside the course, you could set up a video that's like, get started. Here's a quick tour of the course. So you show them this platform that you have set your course up in, show them how to use it. It does not have to be a long video, but give them a walkthrough of what to expect and where to find things. So that's one. Another great one is to have some kind of, it depends on the course topic, of course, but it's some kind of resources library or tech library where they could find small tutorial videos on different topics. This is great if you're teaching things, especially if you're teaching things that might change. Like, let's say you're teaching, I don't know, how to use Instagram or how to use Kajabi or some kind of practical tutorial that the platform itself might change. The lesson, the things you're teaching might have to change a bit. So having like one place with the like a resources library with these kind of training videos, then you in the future that helps you as well, because you can know, okay, I only need to update these videos, not every single video in my course, hopefully. Having a little resource library. Another great one is to have some supportive Facebook, like some supportive group or some way that students could connect with other students who are on the same learning journey. So a Facebook group or you can use a different platform, like Community is a platform, or some kind of place. Kajabi has its own little community. It works okay. It's not, I think other platforms work better than Kajabi's community feature, but you can in general have some place for those students to connect, and they can feel like connected to people around the world. Okay, other students are at different points, but you're all on the same learning journey in this topic. And other great things you could add, some people like to add sort of like gamification. You're familiar with that? Like some kind of way to make it fun, like gamification. It's just some way to make the course like a game for people, or like a fun journey. And I saw one clever way that somebody did this is when somebody onboarded, when a new student entered the course, they actually sent them in physical mail a little packet of information. This is another great idea, but sent a little packet of information, and inside there was like a game that some kind of bingo game that after every module, you like opened an envelope, and I don't know exactly the details here, but there was some kind of gamification they tied in, and students loved it for her. So yeah, these are just a few ideas.
I love that. That is so next level. I've heard of coaches sending people, bits and pieces when they sign up for coaching programs and stuff. I have never heard of a physical onboarding gamification for an online course, and I am absolutely obsessed with that idea. I love that so much. But you're right, sometimes there's some really easy features in some of the platforms. I know, like in LearnWorlds, for example, you can just turn on and off and toggle a feature, so then you can get little badges depending on how many times you talk in the community or how many modules you've completed and stuff. And you're right, just sometimes making it a little bit more a little bit more fun. And I love that you were talking about the community aspect as well, because that's certainly something that I've noticed with online courses in the last couple of years. People really want that social interaction. I'm starting to see that we're starting to lose those days where people just wanted an online course for an online course. People really want that community aspect now in
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
some shape or form. So I love that you mentioned that there. Yeah. How, if we try and like maybe pivot a little bit and we just go back to before people purchase the online course, say, you know, you've been advertising your course on social, on your website, you've been advertising and putting the information out there. How can our listeners consider their own personal branding and the design of what they're putting out there to help convert their audience into actual paying clients?
Mm-hmm. You definitely want to take a look at who your paying clients are and who is that ideal client for that course. You know, what is their personality? What is their, everything you want to consider about them, like all the details of who is that person, and really have that clear in your mind when you're when you're creating the assets to promote and launch the course. So when you're creating the sales page, when you're creating your social media graphics, and when you're, of course, creating the actual course, who are you speaking to? And does the visual side of what you're creating connect with them and relate to them? And does it convey the topic in a nice way? So if you have a very feminine female audience, a go-to color is like pink, using pink colors. But if you're talking about some topic that doesn't make sense, then there's going to be a big disconnect between your topic, what you're trying to promote, and who your ideal client is. It might be a bit confusing for them, and that won't speak as well to them. Therefore, they might not pay attention, and might not purchase a course. So tying in, you have to tie in all these factors when you're really thinking on the branding and the visual identity. Some people. So then another question kind of related to this is, should you be consistent with like your main brand, or should the course have its own branding? So that's something we face a lot. There's not really a right answer, but I know some people, a lot of coaches and a lot of course creators like to have a distinct branding for the course. Now, it can be consistent with the main branding or compatible with the main branding, but I see a big trend right now where people like to have their own identity or own branding for individual courses that they offer, especially if it's like your big main signature offering. So then it kind of has its own identity. And when you promote it, every time you promote it, people start to recognize it as, oh, that is this program from this person, and I've seen it before, and it builds a recognition and builds that helps build the trust and the authority, and then people eventually, oh yeah, I've seen that before, I'm ready for that now.
I love that idea of playing with the idea of potentially having a different branding, or like you said, a take on your branding for a course, because I've seen so often some people will have a course and it doesn't, like, it fits in the major scope of their niche, but maybe not specifically their area of the niche. So then a slightly different branding can work really well in that respect. I really like that idea. Going back to what you've said as well about having kind of an all-in-one platform as opposed to having loads of different platforms. Do you see a lot of people when they first come to you having loads of different platforms and loads of just having work spread out across loads of different areas? Does that cause issues when it comes to creating and selling an online course that you've seen?
Okay, so yes, this happens a lot with clients who come to us. So I see it happening when people start their business and early on they don't know what they want to offer, and that's okay. Like, I think pretty much we all sort of evolve our business and figure out better and better what we're going to offer. So a lot of people are starting their business, but maybe they're not yet doing courses. So eventually when they add on the courses, then they're like, oh, my platform, it doesn't work with courses. I need some other platform. Okay, then I need to figure out the payment processing. Then I need to figure out where I'm going to put the checkout process. And so then that's what happens is people are trying to piecemeal it across different platforms. because maybe they haven't yet heard of a solution out there like this all-in-one kind of platforms. So yeah, then that creates a lot of manual work between the platforms, a lot of like tech headaches of people trying to connect platforms or just log into all these platforms and keep track of what's happening and where it's happening and making them all work together. So we see that all the time, especially when people are already 2, 3 or more years in their business, and then they decide, okay, I want to create a course, and they're at that point of, okay, what do I do? Do I add in another platform to just handle the course? So then sometimes they say yes, and that happens, and then they have yet another platform, and then eventually they're like, okay, now I let's say they've discovered a platform like Kajabi where you can put it all in one. Then they're like, okay, I need to do this now. I need to streamline everything. I'm tired of being spread out, so let's get it all in one platform. So they want a platform to put their website, their course, sales page, and the whole checkout process. Then that happens all the time. Yeah.
And I guess it's that difficult thing, isn't it? Because so often people will see the prices of some of these online platforms where you can kind of do everything, and they think, oh my gosh, that's so expensive. But on the flip side of it, sometimes if you've got £30 going out here and maybe $60 there and £10 there, actually you can end up paying more every month than if you just paid that one chunk for one platform that does probably like 99% of what you want to do there. So I guess it goes back to that original point that you made, is it's really looking at those features and having a look at what it is you want out of a platform, what it is that you need for your business, and maybe not jumping straight into a Facebook group and grabbing the first thing because it worked for somewhere else there. I love that. So for our lovely listeners listening into this episode, what is one thing that you would like them to take away from this episode for anybody who's either thinking about starting an online course or has maybe right at the beginning of their online course journey? What's one thing that they could take away from this?
Okay, I would look at your 6-month to 12-month goals, but I would also consider your long-term goals. And if you're really serious about creating a course-based business, invest now, take the time, take the financial step to invest now in the right decisions that are going to support your business 12 months to 1 year to 3 years out from now. And even if you're afraid of like, is this even going to work? Or am I going to actually make this happen? If you're really set on this goal, yes, how many other people, out there are making this happen. And I love to use that as motivation. Like, yes, she did it. So can I. And so I'm going to make the right decisions now that support the longer term success of my business. It just will help you save time and headache in the future.
Absolutely. It's funny how it doesn't matter how many people I speak to on this podcast, the same message keeps coming across, is just think about that long-term vision. Yes, it's so easy to make decisions like about today or about this week, but just think about that long-term vision and actually, is this going to be maybe a quick and simple solution today, which might just cause you headaches down the line, as you said, when you're suddenly juggling with like 10 different platforms, and if you're anything like me, you've forgotten every single password apart from the password that you were using 3 logins ago or something silly. So yeah, having that long-term vision, I think, is such sound advice for as a takeaway there. So for anybody who wants to catch up with you, find out more about what you do, where can they connect with you? Where can they find out more about you?
Yeah, definitely. You can check out our website. It's Studio Classica with an A at the end, studioclassica.com. And we really focus on Kajabi. That's why you heard me talking about it. But we have expertise across many platforms. And we just love, connecting with course creators who if you're in the process of deciding which platform to use and, beyond listening to this conversation, you can always message me on Instagram, which is my name on Instagram. It's a bit tricky, but Elizabeth Averyanova on Instagram. in the show notes.
Yeah, amazing. I'm going to get all of that linked down in the show notes. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been absolutely fantastic. I think we have covered some really, really big topics, which I don't hear enough people talking about in the online course, world. So thank you so much for joining us. And as I said, all of your links will be in the show notes there, so everyone can catch up with you if they want some more information and find out about your fantastic work. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Confident CEO podcast. Before you go, I would absolutely be overjoyed if you could take just 2 minutes to leave me a review in Apple Podcasts. Reviews are a great way to tell Apple Podcasts how much you enjoyed the show, and it helps the algorithm to push out the podcast to more people, thereby helping us to help empower even more badass businesswomen to grow their inner CEO and grow to be the confident CEO of their business that they can be. I love to shout you out in your reviews as well. So you never know, you might be hearing your name on the podcast in the next episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.